Hello everyone and welcome to the DeHart house. My name is Alicia and I'm your host of this crafty channel here on YouTube. Today is September 1st. It's Labor Day in the United States. Not that it makes much of an impact because I teach and I'm still on summer vacation. But regardless, it's September 1st and it's time to wrap up my making for the month of August. So August has been a pretty fun month here in the DeHart house. By the way, the DeHart house, my house, is located in the Pacific Northwest. I live in the greater Seattle area of Washington State in the United States, and the weather is absolutely wonderful this time of year. It's starting to cool down a little bit from the heat waves that we've had, although I wouldn't be surprised if we had another heat wave come through. A heat wave here is when the temperatures get above 90 degrees Fahrenheit. We start to get heat advisories and information sent to us about cooling stations and all of that kind of information. It is not typical for everyone here to have air conditioning in their homes. We do. We had ours installed 2 years ago. Yeah, we wanted to upgrade our heater in the home, which was original to the house from the 1970s. And with that, we looked into the possibilities of also getting a cooling system for the home, and we decided on a heat pump. So the one system heats in the winter and cools in the summer, and it's amazing. It's amazing. It was worth the investment. It's on right now, which you can probably hear in the background, as is typical in my videos. Anyway, we had the windows open all morning long, letting fresh air in and the cool breeze. It's a sunny day. It's warming up out there, so we closed the windows and we've got the air on. But it's time to record and tell you about all the crafty things that I had going on. And then towards the end of the video, I'll share with you other things that happened in the month of August. Like I mentioned, I teach for a living and we're on summer vacation. And summer vacation is the perfect time to do things. So we've been doing things, and I'll share about that towards the end of the video. Okay, usual format to the monthly makes videos. I will start with the things that I finished this month. So crafting items that are complete and finished objects. Then I will talk about works in progress. So this can include new cast-ons or projects that are still going to continue forward that didn't get finished this month. And this can include any crafts, knitting, crocheting, sewing, whatever. And then towards the end, after that, I will share my numbers. So I have goals about stashing down and my bingo card, so I'll talk about those. And then at the end, I'll talk about life stuff. So my first finished object for the month of August got its own video, and that was posted last week. That is the previous episode about my crochet quilt. So I finished a blanket project. This is a big one. So a couple things about it. One, it is 100% worsted weight acrylic yarn. So this can be washed in a washing machine and dried in a dryer, which I think is really important when it comes to blankets, because, blankets, the way we use them on the floor, we use them in the yard, on the grass, we use them out at the beach getting full of sand, we use them to cover up on the couch, we use them all the places for all the things, and we love our blankets. and I find it's really important that we be able to wash those in the machines. So I like to make blankets out of acrylic yarn. Yeah, so that was the idea. Although we're not going to keep this blanket. I am going to donate this because I had decided this kind of color scheme of bright rainbow. There are the warm colors and there are the, let's see if I can get a different section here, the cool colors, and it's absolutely beautiful. I'll put in a clip in here of me holding it up. I think it's a stunning blanket. I'm super proud of the work that I did, but it just doesn't kind of fit our style. But it was a lot of fun to make. So I am going to gift this along to somebody, some organization, something. Yet to be determined. But yes, this is finished. It's a giant project. I love it so much. If you would like more information about pattern and sizing and things I love about it, check out the episode, which we'll figure out how to link in the video right here for you. But yeah, so it's a big project. It got a lot of yarn out of stash because the way that I count things coming out of stash is when I finish them. And this is a project that I started 5 years ago. So I'm also really happy to have finished a languishing whip, and I think I'm looking around the craft room. Do I have a whip that's older than this? And I think the answer is no. Partially because this morning I cleaned up my whip pile, but this morning is September, so that'll have to be talked about in the September video. It doesn't have to, there are no rules here, but I think this was my oldest work in progress, and so it felt really good to finish it. Yeah, it's fabulous. So it's big, it's warm. I am gonna fold this back up and set it on the table. It is definitely too big for me to show you here, but yeah, I'll pop in a couple of pictures and then I'll talk about my next finished object. So my next finished object is a garment, and I tell you what, I definitely felt motivated by my making after finishing a giant blanket and then finishing a garment. Like, it felt really great. What a productive month. So this is a crop top. So it is much shorter than how I usually make my garments. And I did not follow a pattern. I totally improvised this thing. I was inspired by things I had seen on Pinterest. I was inspired by the idea of mixing crafts together. So I have crochet here and I have knitting for the body. Yeah, it was actually a lot of fun. The yarn has been repurposed. So I had previously made a top that was meant to be like an oversized drapey top with some lace detailing at the bottom. But this yarn is not very drapey, so it didn't quite achieve the fabric that would have complemented that pattern really well. But it was also just way too big. Way too big, and I looked like a giant white marshmallow person. And I'm not really going for that look. So I ripped it all out. I ripped it all out and I decided to repurpose it into a new project. There is still a lot of that yarn left over in my scrap bin, as you can imagine, which is totally fine. I'm glad to have like made something out of it, which is great. Yeah, so this is a saddle shoulder where there are crochet granny squares for the saddle. And saddle shoulder is not something I've ever made before, so the fact that I improvised this is kind of amazing. I'm pretty proud of myself. But of all the constructions, this one is not that hard, right? Basically, you have a rectangle is your saddle, and then you pick up stitches and knit down, and pick up stitches and knit down. So of all the ones for me to improvise, this one makes sense. But yeah, I started with these granny squares, so I have the white speckled yarn, and then I also found this blue and this black are the same kind of yarn. Also had scraps, and I thought they went well together, so I went with these three colors. The yarn is 100% acrylic. It is a DK weight yarn. It is from Hobby Lobby. It's called something.
A few moments later.
Yep, I had to look it up. Fail. It's called Baby Bee, Sweet Delight. It's from Hobby Lobby. It's a DK weight yarn. It's kind of advertised as being a baby yarn. I do know that this color is like Puppy Kisses. The white with the speckle. I don't remember exactly the names of the black and the blue, but they're a solid black and a solid blue. Yeah, so I knit this top down from the saddles down. There is no waist shaping or bust darts or anything like that. It's just straight from there. I did pick up for the sleeve and just did ribbing there. And I did match the coloring here. So I picked up with the blue and then knit one round in the blue. Well, knit two, purl two. And then went to the black. So it's just a little pop of the blue, and I did the same thing on the sleeves. And then I did the same thing on the bottom. So it just adds a little extra pop of color there without being too much, I don't think. And also not as stark as going from the white to the black. So I thought it was a nice way to incorporate those three colors. I did do a like a high-low hem here. I did put in some short row shaping to make the back just a tad bit longer. I had heard another podcaster talk about doing this on quite a number of her tops, and I think they look stunning on her. And I thought I would give it a try on the thing where I'm trying all the stuff. I'm trying a saddle shoulder, I'm trying a crop top. Why not also try this high-low hem kind of thing? And I love it. So the podcaster I heard it from is, her podcast is called Edible Thoughts Makes, and she is absolutely wonderful to watch, super informative, super knowledgeable. I have not washed this yet. It's still got some crinkles. The yarn I ripped out and then knit it immediately into this, so it's a little bit wrinkly just from that. So I really should wash it. And I need to take finished object photos. So yeah, I need to wash it and then try this on. I've tried it on. Let me clarify it. Take photos. I will not wear this with pants because of how cropped it is. I do not feel comfortable showing my midriff, but it looks great over a dress. And that was the intent of the crop top, was so that I could wear it over a dress. So I'm really happy with it. I'm glad to have used up yarn from a project that failed and make it into something that doesn't fail. And the last finished object for August is a pair of socks, because of course a pair of socks. I'm a pretty avid sock knitter, not as much as some other podcasters you might find out there on the internet, but I crank them out at my own speed. So this is a pair of socks for me, and the yarn is from Knit Picks. All of it is from Knit Picks. So we've got Knit Picks Felici is the self-striping yarn, and the colorway is Board Shorts. And the heel is Knit Picks Stroll in the color Cider, which is a pretty solid brown. There isn't heathering in there. And I think they look pretty awesome. So I did reverse the order of the stripes for the second sock. It's not super obvious, I feel like, at first glance, but you can see that it goes like dark blue, light blue, lime green, but here goes lime green, light blue, dark blue. So I like to do that where I swap the order. At first I wasn't happy that this was like a half stripe of blue, so the stripes weren't necessarily going to line up. They'd be off, but in the end I was like, just be fine with it, Alicia. You do not have to be that picky about your socks. And yeah, I think they're going to look just fine when I put them on. But had I moved that, had I just started on the lime green instead? Oh well. Yeah, so I knit these top down. That's my preferred method. 2x2 ribbing, heel flap and gusset, standard toe. Love it. So yes, it was a very productive month. A blanket, a garment, and a pair of socks. I love it. But I still have some projects that are going to continue forward into the month of September, as well as some new ones that I've started. And the first one I'm going to share with you is a new one. So after I finished the crochet quilt, which was a lot of fun, a lot of work, and it just brought me a lot of joy to see the finished piece finally, I was super motivated to start another blanket. And I did. I even went out and bought the yarn. So I brought yarn into the stash, which I'm frowning because I have a goal to use more out than what I bring in, and bringing in a blanket's quantity of yarn. Oh boy, here we go. But I had the mojo, I had to ride the motivational wave, and I rode it all the way to the store and bought yarn. So I went to Hobby Lobby and I got yarn, and I believe I mentioned that part of the reason I am gifting the crochet quilt is because the color theme doesn't quite fit our style that we've decided to go with for our decor. So I chose colors that would go with our style and our decor, and it's gonna look pretty boring. But yeah. So this is a crochet project. It currently is not attached to any yarn, and I'll explain that in a moment. It's not finished. It is still a work in progress. But let me show this to you. So I have a few blankets in mind, and I wanted to start with one that was more simple, especially after finishing a project that was so into playing with color and, you know, patterning pieces and stuff. I wanted to go with something that was more autopilot, just stitch, stitch, stitch kind of thing. And that's why this is almost done. This is almost done. That thing was 5 years in the making. Not 5 active years, because it sat around in my craft room for quite a while. But still, Yeah, and that's what I wanted. I wanted something that would just super potato chippy while watching TV, and that's what has happened, and I love it. So it's crochet. The pattern is called the Elemental Throw. It's something I found on Pinterest. I figured I would actually look through my Pinterest boards of things that I've saved, because I'm it's pretty typical for me to save a bunch of things and not really go back and look at them. So I thought I would go back and look at them. And this was sitting there, and I was like, yep, that's the one. Free pattern on Ravelry. Well, free pattern on the blog. You can purchase the pattern on Ravelry if you want to go with it, and that saves you from some ads and things like that. I just went off of the website, and I will have that information in the description box and down below if you want to check this out for yourself as well. But yeah, crochet project, again, 100% acrylic, because I want to be able to wash and dry the stuff in the machine and not have to worry about it. The two colors are antique white and dark denim. So in the pattern photo, the designers, she has white and gray. And I couldn't find the gray that I wanted at Hobby Lobby. So this is their brand of yarn. I love this yarn. And yeah, I don't know if they just don't make the gray I had in my mind, or if they were out of stock, or if my store doesn't stock it. I don't know, but I couldn't find the shade of gray that I was picturing. And I wasn't going to settle. So I went with this blue, which goes with our color scheme. And honestly, from far away, like the gray I was thinking of and this blue from far away pretty much looked the same. So it was totally great. So yeah, in the end, there will be 5 sections of these blue pieces. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there will be a 5th one, and then that will finish the blanket. It's going to be throw size, and it's almost there. So I bought 3 skeins of the white, because that's all they had from the same dye lot. Because I'm trying to pay attention to dye lots. I have had issues in the past where I've got 80% of the project made, and then the last 20% is from a different dye lot, and all of a sudden you can tell the difference. But when the 2 balls are sitting next to each other on the shelf at the store, they don't look any different. But for some reason, when you stitch them up, they look completely different, which is very annoying. So yes, I bought the 3 skeins that they had in the store that day from the same dye lot, and I have used up all 3. I bought 2 skeins of the blue. I did not need 2 skeins. I really only needed 1. The 1 skein that I've been working on, which is sitting over there, is going to get me through the last section of the blue, which is great. So the second skein of blue I will use in another blanket. Like I said, I've got a few that I want to do. So that's not a problem. But yeah, I'm hoping when I go back to Hobby Lobby, I didn't want to go, I figured 3 wouldn't be enough, but I didn't want to buy more until I figured out how far the 3 got me. So I will only buy 1 more. I'm going to take a picture of the label so I have the dye lot number, and fingers crossed I will be able to find it. And that would be fantastic. But yeah, so this is a new work in progress that's almost finished. So I did make more progress on my t-shirt, another t-shirt. This one is not going to be cropped, I don't think, because I want to wear this with like jeans, so I'm not going to crop it. But last time I showed it to you, I did put in a progress keeper, but I took it out because I did a little wet blocking and I didn't want the stitch marker in there. But I had only maybe this much done along the back. Okay, so I finished the back, and I did a wet block. This is 100% cotton yarn, and so I did a wet block to check the sizing, and it looks really good before picking up for the front on the two shoulders, doing a little shaping here for the neck opening, and then I recently joined this back up, and I'll have to double check my count, but I think I'm to the point where I can join in the round now, which is very exciting. I want to try this on and make sure that that is the case, that I'm going to have enough space here for my arms. If I have to add a little bit extra, I can do that. But yeah, so this is something that I'm improvising, making up as I go, maybe pattern writing, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I think it I think it's so cool for being such a simple color work. This is stranded color work, so if I show you the back, look at how just it looks clean. I love it. So it's just super simple color work, and I decided to make the variegated yarn the main color, kind of the background, and the plain white, the contrast color, the little squares. And I just love how it looks. It kind of looks like a grid. It looks like plaid. It's, I don't know, it's just, it's clean. That's the word that keeps coming to mind with this, and I love it, which is not a word I usually associate with the variegated yarn. So, very interesting. But yeah, it is looking like this, and I absolutely love it. So this is 100% cotton yarn. This is more yarn that I am repurposing. So was it last summer? I think it was last summer. It was last summer. I cast on a t-shirt knit. I forget the name of the pattern. But yeah, I forget the name of the pattern. It doesn't matter. I never finished it because it was too big. I got to a point of trying it on, and it was just this really big, not flattering, in my opinion, oversized thing on me. And in cotton yarn, that's gonna kind of widen as you wash it anyway, didn't fancy me. And I just didn't have the energy to recast on that project with a smaller size. Yeah. So it is in this bag. It is still here. And yeah, it doesn't look as good as I thought it was going to. I think this looks better. Yeah, I do. Which is great. But yes, the plan is to eventually rip this out and reuse it. But what I did to start this project is I started with one of the balls I had wound up and hadn't used in this project yet. Let's see. Nope, plane tickets, because I took this with me to Texas. Okay, so the variegated yarn is KC, hand-dyed, 100% cotton. The color is Sea Dragon. And I had purchased this from Joann's, which we know what has happened with them. And the white yarn is something I purchased this year from Hobby. And due to tariffs, who knows when I'll order from Hobby again. But 100% cotton, and yeah, they're both fingering weight yarns. I'm using a size 3 needle, and just, you know, really enjoying how methodical this is. It's just, you know, it's not as potato chippy as the blanket, but it's, because the color work is so simple, it's just 2x2. It's very easy. And it's been kind of fun to use this as a like color work practice, but not really practice, like really being able to focus on that tensioning. Like, because the pattern is so regular, if I do something different, I can compare this row to this row. Because it's not that, you know, there's more red stitches than there were up there or anything like that. The pattern's the same on every row. So if I do something different with my tensioning, I can kind of compare that. It's been kind of nice, honestly. So yeah, I'm excited to see this grow some more. I would love to finish it in September. We shall see, because I go back to work in the middle of the month. Now, when I finished those socks, I did I needed to cast on another pair of socks. I am not going to carry around a blanket or a garment with me to go on road trips or anything. Not little day trips or knitting in the waiting room. Like, they're just too big. So I do like to have a pair of socks on the go. And so I did cast on another pair, and I decided to make this a scrappy pair. So I am alternating every other round between 2 self-striping yarns. And this one's less exciting than the ones I've showed you before. This patch right here is a lot of light colors, and it's kind of hard to tell that I've got 2 colors going on there. But yeah, so the 2 colors are, they're both Knit Picks Felici, and they are yarns I purchased this year. So the green, pink, and yellow is called Cactus Flower. I did knit a pair of socks for myself just straight out of this colorway. And then this one is General Store. So we've got light pink, light blue, yellow, light brown. Yeah. The General Store, I only bought the one ball, and I bought it knowing I wanted to pair it up with some of these in these scrappy socks. So yes, this is the first sock. This is as far as I have gotten. 2x2 ribbing. Love it. These are also going to be for me. So a lot of selfish sock knitting is happening this year. Okay, so goals right now. First, let me talk about my bingo card, which has a lot more squares marked off than last time. Yeah, super cool. So I put this bingo card together to help motivate my crafting throughout the year. And the idea behind this is to motivate me to do things I've been wanting to do for a while, or to use tools I haven't used in a while, or certain crafts, or just kind of to get me out of the usual, right? So, for example, what I don't have on here is anything about sock making, because I'm really comfortable with sock making at this point. I don't need it on my card to motivate me to do. I just kind of automatically do it. So what got marked off this month includes these 3 right here. So if they're the same color, it means they came from the same project. So it's not one square for one project. One project could mark multiple squares. So my crochet quilt counted for crochet. It counted for blanket. And it also counted for charity, because I'm going to donate it to a good cause. And then down here, these 2 were also marked off this month. So my crop top that I showed you, I'm calling that my mixed media top because I mixed different crafting in there. So that was actually one of my squares. Mix crafting in one project.
Your 1-hour timer on Alicia's show is ringing.
Okay. Apologies. That was the timer for the bread in the oven. It was on its second rise, and now it is baking. What was I saying? My top counted for mix crafting in one project because I mixed crochet and knitting in one project. I also marked off new to you construction because I had never done saddle shoulders before. And so that was really cool. Yeah, so I think you can get the idea with my bingo card. So I have, and then I did make the middle a free space because I ran out of ideas, and that's pretty common to make the middle one free. So that means on my 5x5 grid, that's 25 squares, right? I have marked off 12 squares, which leaves 13 still to do. This entire bottom row is undone. Nothing in there. But you can see technically I have a bingo. I do have a bingo here across. I would like to mark every square, but at least I have a bingo. I have another goal for the year, and that has to do with my yarn stash. So I keep track of how much yarn I bring into the stash and how much yarn I use out. The way I am measuring that is in yards. So anytime I purchase yarn, I write it down in my handy dandy book here, and I just go off of what's on the label. So if the label says this skein of yarn should weigh 100 grams and it should have 400 yards, that's what I write down. When I'm actually using it, I weigh it on my kitchen scale. And if you're a crafter, you know that not every 100 gram skein is exactly 100 grams. Right. So these are all approximate, but it gives me a ballpark idea of how much I'm purchasing and how much I'm using, and getting a sense of the flow of these supplies through my making. I find it's very informative and helps curb my spending, which is a good thing. Okay, so yarn in. I did purchase yarn. I purchased yarn for the blanket from Hobby Lobby. So I bought 5 skeins total. I bought 3 in the antique white and I bought 2 in the denim blue. Each skein says on it that it will weigh 199 grams. Why didn't they just say 200? I don't get that. But it said 199 grams at 355 yards. It's a worsted weight yarn. I bought 5 of them. So that gives us 1,775 yards that entered the stash this month. That is my only yarn purchase. Pretty happy that I've already used most of it. However, I only count yarn as going out when I finish the project. For example, my crochet quilt that I finished this year, all of the yarn in that finished object counts for this year, even though most of it was knit 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Okay, I don't count yarn out while a project is still in progress. And so if a project carries over several months or several years, it just gets counted whenever it gets finished. Great. So I used out all the yarn in my crochet quilt, which was 2,780 yards. That's an estimate because the different colors were all different brands and whatnot, but I explained that in my feature video about it. This was just an estimate based off of how much it weighs. My crop top mixed media shirt, 708 yards out of the stash. And the socks, 298 yards out of the stash. So for the month of August, I used out 3,786 yards, which means for the month of August, I used more out than what I brought in. Yes, good. Now, let's look at the year so far for 2025. I have finished 20 projects so far. I'm looking at my notebook. I'm also keeping track of yarn out, which I have moved to the second page now, which makes me very happy. I have finished 20 projects. One of those was out of hand spun yarn though, and I'm not counting hand spun in this count. This count here is all about commercial yarn and not hand spun. Okay. So far this year, I have used up 9,051 yards out of my stash, which is amazing. What I have brought in is also quite a bit. So far this year, I have brought in 10,025 yards. So that means I'm still on a net gain of 974 yards. While I'm still not meeting this goal of more out than in, I would like to see a net deficit, not a net gain. 974 yards. We're within 1,000. In fact, when I buy that last skein of antique white yarn and finish that blanket, even though I'll have brought in 355 more yards, I can then count that yarn is going out because I'll have finished a thing. See where I'm going with this? Pretty excited. All right, so I'm pretty confident I'm going to meet that goal, especially since I did not go to Flock Fiber Festival. I have not yet been, and I live in the Seattle area. But yes, I was going to try to go to Flock. Things didn't work out between family visits and everything going on. That's okay. I don't regret it. But I'm hoping to go next year. So, yes, August was very fruitful in the crafting arena of my life. It's also been very fruitful in the garden, like literally fruitful. So I love to garden. I love to grow food especially. I do have some flowers because why not? They help feed the bees and they're beautiful. But where my main focus is on growing useful things. Not to say flowers aren't useful, but food. So tomatoes have been coming out of the garden. I've got 3 varieties going: cherry, Amish paste, and beefsteak. And I'm getting all the tomatoes. I love it. Zucchini. Lots of zucchini. Now, I started out with like 8 or 12 seedlings and only 2 made it. And really only the one plant has been producing zucchini like you wouldn't believe. Which is weird how all that works, but yeah, lots of zucchini, cucumbers, lots of cucumbers, green beans, a couple pumpkins have come out at this point. I'm just trying to stick with things that have come out of the garden this month. Some kale, some jalapenos, dill. I have dill popping up all over my garden. So last year I planted some dill next to some mint in a planter. The mint just took over the planter. Which, whatever, I love the mint too, it's great. But that dill went to seed, and I guess it dropped its seed strategically so that it's all over the garden. I've got volunteer dill all over the place, which has been great for pickling the cucumbers and making pickles. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. So I've got dill near my tomatoes, near my corn, near my green beans. It's kind of funny. But yeah, it's been just one plant here and there. Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of canning and food preserving. So I made salsa. I think we're good for salsa for a year. I've made pasta sauce, ketchup, pickles, lots of pickles. Oh, I just made zucchini bread today because I had a giant zucchini that I if you don't know there's a fruit there because all the leaves are covering it, I mean the plant just continues to pump resources into it, and the squash can get quite large. So I had a very large zucchini that I decided I was going to make bread out of. So today I made a big old batch of zucchini bread. I've got regular loaves, little loaves, and muffins. And most of that's going to go in the freezer. And we can just pull them out and consume them throughout the year. And mostly the winter once all the harvesting is done. I also am trying out freezing the squash. I've never done it before, so today's kind of an experiment with that. I diced it up, I blanched it. It's currently in the freezer on parchment paper in a baking tray to freeze them as individual pieces. And then once they're completely frozen, then I can toss them all in a bag, and then hopefully they won't stick to each other is the idea. I'm hoping that goes well because I'd love to not have to make all my zucchini into sugary zucchini bread as the only way to preserve it. Yeah, so there's that. Yeah, pretty much every day has been for the last week or so, has been some kind of food preservation. Oh yeah, I'm dehydrating garlic and then grinding it up into garlic powder. Because my newly harvested garlic, I really need to bring into the house, but I'm trying to use up last year's garlic and turning it into garlic powder. So I've got some of that needs to be ground up. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Okay, that's it. I'm tired now, talking about all the things about the month of August, all the making, all the gardening, all the new acquisitions we've made in our personal life. Yeah, it's been a really fun summer. I look forward to seeing what happens this September. Like I said, mid-month I go back to work, so my daily routine is going to have to change back into work mode, which will have an impact on my crafting, but I'm hoping to have my craft room mostly finished in the cleaning arena. So when I go back to work, I can spend most of my time crafting instead of cleaning, which would be really nice. Let me know down in the comments what you have planned for the month of September, or what you managed to craft in the month of August. I'd love to hear what you guys are working on or planning, things that are going on in your life. Did you buy a new camper? All right, until next time, I hope that you stay safe, stay healthy, and you enjoy your crafts, whatever they may be. Bye.